welcome class to the blur assignment, shallow depth of field in Photoshop. And I brought my photo in, and the first thing you're going to do is bring your photo in, open it in Photoshop by going to Open and File. File Open. And you know, you can have a blurred background. It's nice to have a shot that you use that actually has some depth to it, right? You don't want to do something that's just in front of a wall or something like that. Have some landscape behind it, maybe. So you open your image in Photoshop, and in the layers panel, I'm going to duplicate your layer and rename it blur. So I can just several ways to do that. I can just come down here, I can right click and say duplicate layer. I can press on your Chromebooks, you can press Control and the Alt key and the letter J, and it will do the same thing. It will duplicate your layer. And I'm going to rename this by double clicking on that, and I'm going to rename this blur. And there we go. And after that, I'm going to go up to filter at the top. Click on that. I'm going to go down to where it says blur. And that opens a new window. And I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. And you'll see that my photo is pretty well blurred out. You know, if I take this all the way to the right, it's completely blurred. And if I go all the way to the left, it's kind of just the way I brought it in. So I want to blur it a little bit. So I'm going to take it up to 30. See what that looks like, somewhere in that area. And I'm going to take it a little bit more. I think I'm going to go to about 40. Yours may be different. It may be different, but I want this real blur. Now I'm going to hit OK. If you never used the blur tool, if you see I have a hand in that window, and I can just left click on my mouse or my pad with 2 fingers, and it shows me what it was like right before. I can also move around that hand and try to get to a specific area. So if I wanted to get, right where I see those feathers, I could do that. And it shows you what it looks like, and it shows you just by clicking. Anyway, I'm gonna hit OK. All right, and then I'm gonna go to Layers panel, and I'm gonna add a layer mask. So that's down here at the bottom. It's the one that looks like an old TV set, and I'm gonna add a layer mask to that. And then I'm going to go get a new tool. I'm going to go over to the Tools panel, and I'm going to go to a tool that we haven't used yet, I don't think, and it's the Gradient tool. And if you have it in 2 columns, on my version of Photoshop, it's 1 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 1 down on the left column. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go to the bottom of my image, and I'm going to left click down here. I'm going to left click and drag up like that. And I'm going to stop right where I want it. And you'll see that the bottom of my photo kind of comes into focus again. Not completely, but pretty much. So down in this area, the grass area, and that road, the path there, if I drag up even farther, it goes a little bit extended. But for now, I just want to come right to the top of this and stop. Okay? I'm gonna go, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you guys can see as I work on this. And I'm just going to go grab a brush. going over to my tools panel on the left side. I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4 to my brush tool. I'm going to right click on that. I have the brush tool, the pencil tool, color replacement tool, and the mixer brush. I want the very top one. And I'm just going to go over my subject. So I want to keep all this blurred, but I want to bring the feathers and that little pole that it's on back into focus, so I can really accentuate this as a focal point. So I right click to see how big my brush is. I'm going to close this. And I'm going to make it, I'm just sliding this and I'm looking out here at how far it is. And I'm going to start there. Okay, so I'm going to work my way up on that pole, and I can make my brush bigger and smaller as I need to, so I can change it if I need to. And I'm going to come down to these feathers. Just getting everything I can back into focus while leaving everything around it in that nice blur. And as I get to the top of this, I can't really see where I'm supposed to go. So I can come over to my layer and go over to the eye and click that eye on and off to see what it looked like. So I can see that on that top what's there. And so now I'm going to go back. I know that there's this part to it. And I'm going to come out there. And there's also this. Yeah. That's looking better. And I can make my brush smaller now as I go around those fine points. Oops. I kind of messed up there. But anyway, and I'm going to get all this. So I'm really just making a focal point, right? So the first thing, you know, we talked about that in class. We looked at some of those masterpieces, and we decided where our eyes went when we first saw that, right? When we first see the image in front of us. By adding this blur effect, it adds that shallow depth of field, you know, that zone, that small zone where the camera is in focus on our subject. And it's kind of doing it in Photoshop without really setting our camera and changing our aperture to get that effect. We're just kind of cheating a little bit in Photoshop by blurring it and then erasing some of that blur. So that's it, and I hope you have fun with this assignment. Thank you.